right, here we are back with another episode, and we got Riley. And Riley, you want to introduce yourself for everybody?
I'm Riley, and I run that brand that some might call R3evaluate. And apparently, right now, it's a ski industry apparel outerwear brand.
I'm glad. Okay, so I'm glad that you pronounced it first. I wanted you to take the lead on the pronunciation. So it's reevaluate, correct?
Yeah.
Cool. All right, so we will get into that, but let's get into who Riley is first. So, where are you at right now, and where are you from originally?
I'm in Salt Lake City right now. It's a pretty cool place. I'm from like probably like 15 minutes southwest of Denver in this town, Littleton Highlands Ranch. Very sheltered, bubbly, suburban neighborhood, which I'm not proud to be from there, but um, yeah,
Highlands. That's where Cal is from, correct?
yeah, yeah. I grew up with Cal like on ski team, and I met him in high school also, and I was like, oh, I didn't know you like lived over here. That's crazy.
Oh, that's awesome. So were you a, if I remember Cal's story correctly, were you like a mogul kid at first?
Uh-huh. Yeah, I was a mogul kid probably until like 2012, 2013, and like would travel mostly just statewide for mogul comps. I like won a comp, like state championship when I was like 11, and I was like so stoked on mogul skiing. But and then I like started hanging out with Cal a bunch, and I was like, that's way cooler. I'm totally like done with the moguls. And then like would compete in that too, and would do well at like one comp a year. But yeah, I've been on like mostly like I grew up on with that mogul background, and then I've just like loved all of it always, like all of skiing. Like big mountain stuff is like more fun to me depending on the day.
So did you like dive fully into the park scene, or did you just got away from moguls because you're like, oh, this stuff's whack?
I totally just dove straight into the park scene. First I had like I think it was because of the mogul stats, but I had like a weird like um it was like a system sponsorship with Rosignol, so I was at like the lowest tier, but I would get like free skis every year, and then I would snap them and then get two free pairs. So it like worked out for a while, but they started giving me like their park skis, and then I was like fully in it and was on the like I was either on like 2 or 3 day a week team, and would go to Winter Park and like ski with all those guys and like just hike rails every weekend, and it like was definitely fun, but also was pretty shitty.
Yeah. So how did you make the leap over to Salt Lake?
Um, I actually like so I graduated high school in December 2017, and I had that like second semester off before college, and I was like, oh, like I'll just ski Winter Park all the rest of the season, and then like a week later, I like snapped my humerus, and then I was just like out of commission for like a while. But then I went to CSU. I was doing electrical engineering for the first semester. And I was like, wow, I hate this. This is gonna suck if this is my entire life. And then I like did some fuck around like pre-construction management and just like would just party every single day and was just taking so many mushrooms. And I was like, I wonder if I should like learn how to sew or something. Like I'm just like not doing school. I'm just sitting in the dorm room like fucking around. I like got pretty into like just like tearing stuff up and like sewing like crap. Like it was like so bad, but I was like, well, I have like a bunch of buddies. This my like really good friend that I grew up with on that same team with Cal, Adam Burton. He was out here his freshman year. I came and visited him, and I was like, wow, I love it out here. This is so sick. Like everyone is so fucking cool. And I was like, all right, Dad, I'm not going back to school next year. I'm moving to Salt Lake. And I just sent it out. I had a girlfriend at the time, like didn't tell her that I was gonna do that until like a week before I moved. and that was a funny experience. But um, yeah, just sent it out here, got it like a framing job, worked like all summer, and then like actually started like kicking into gear with like learning more about sewing and design. Like that following September, I think I moved out here May of 2019 or 20. I think it was 19.
Nice. That is awesome. Did you have an interest in fashion and stuff growing up? I know that I like to ask all the people with their own small business because, like, how far does this stretch back having an interest in making clothing?
Like only really like 5 or 6 years. So like when I was um probably around 16-ish. It was 17 for sure. It was like 5 years. So like I said, I'm 22 now. But um I like growing up like in high school, I was like that one kid that would just wear like all black on like the school spirit days that were like wearing all white or something because I was like I just like hated where I was and like was dating like older girls and they were all like into doing drugs and like fucking around and I was like, yeah, I'm so cool. I'm wearing all black on the white days. And I'd like try to wear baggy clothes, but like I didn't really have any and I didn't buy any. Um, but then, yeah, like 5 years ago, oh my god, yeah, 5 years ago, like like preface, like growing up, my mom had this sewing machine, this super sick, like cast iron Singer, which I have like right across from me that I like rebuilt out and made it into this industrial work of garbage, but it works. But she had that and she was always like trying to be like, "Hey, you want to like learn how to sew and learn how to use this?" And I was like, "No, mom, like that's for girls. I don't want to do that." And then like she ended up passing away like when I was 17, and then I was like a year or two later, I was like interested because my girlfriend's mom at the time just gave me a sewing machine, and I was like, I'm just gonna learn how to use this to like kind of honor her, you know? And I just like got super into it, and I'm like, well, I want to wear what I want to wear, so I'm gonna make that, and then like enough people started liking it, and then now I'm just like full all eggs in the basket except for like yeah, pretty much just went all in for it.
So what was it about your hometown that you disliked so much? It seemed like you really did not enjoy it whatsoever.
If well like if you know it or like if you grew up in like a neighboring like area, I had this conversation with this girl the other day that's from like Aurora or something that's like super close. And she was like, "Oh, where are you from?" And I was like, "Oh, like pretty close to Denver." And she was like, "Well, where?" And I was like, "Well, like Littleton." And she's like, "Well, you mean Highlands Ranch?" And I was like, "Yeah." She's like, "Well, nice. Like, I'm sure you lived in one of those gated communities and like all this stuff." And I was like, "Actually, no, but like it has a weird like energy to it 'cause it's just such like a bubble. Like everyone would just call it the bubble because there was like the only crime was like underage drinking and like DUIs and like minor in possession charges. But, like at least in like the visit like the had to like at least 20-mile radius of that town. It was just like so shielded and like it was the just all Karen moms with their ring doorbells and like you're playing like baseball in the street and someone comes out screaming at you like you're like vandalizing their car or something. It was just yeah, it had like that weird like dystopic energy to it and a lot of like the people I grew up with were so about it and then like the people that weren't about it were like the people that you wanted to be friends with. Yeah, you didn't get much experience, like life experience. It was like super fake for sure.
Yeah. Cool. So you end up going from CSU to Salt Lake, and what'd your dad say when you're like, "Yep, done with college. I'm gonna go to Salt Lake and make pants."
Well, I didn't even have the like I'm gonna go like sew and design and stuff. I was just like I'll just like go work construction. I don't want to be in Colorado. And he was like, well, I mean, you should like like, oh, now I remember. Yeah, I told him I was like, I'm gonna move out there, spend a year just working, like get some money, and then I can get in-state residency and then go to the University of Utah. And so that was like the tentative plan. And he was like, oh yeah, that's sick, because CSU was like in-state was like 17,000 a semester a year or something. And then here it's like 8,000 a semester or a year. I don't know, but it's way cheaper if you have like the in-state residency. So he was like all aboard for it. And then like the year came around and he was like, so like you are you gonna get in-state residency now? And I was like, yeah, I didn't like do any of the things I was supposed to do to get that. So like I would have to wait another year. And he was like, oh, are you gonna do that? And he was like, no, probably not. And now he doesn't care. Now he's like super supportive for sure.
Nice. So, what was that year like? So you were doing construction. Did you just have
Um,
like an open-ended plan to continue to do construction, or what were you thinking?
no, it lasted not very long because like I worked for this like deck company, and they just like frame and build decks, and I was like essentially their project manager because they didn't have like a driver, and like no one wanted to drive this piece of shit trailer that was it was literally like a mobile home or RV with just totally scrapped, like just the flatbed with like linoleum on it still, like completely falling apart. And like they're like, yeah, like here's my keys. I don't need to see your ID or anything. Like take my truck, go get this trailer. Do you know how to drive a trailer? And I was like, yeah, sure. And I just like watched a YouTube video like on the way to get the trailer. And then I was like doing that, and the boss was just such a fucking dick. And I was like, I'm out. But I met this foreman in that company, and he was like, hey, like we like he's like became like a huge like mentor kind of guy, and like I still talk to him nowadays. But he was like, I'm gonna start this company, like it's gonna be fucking badass, like, and you're fucking cool, and I want you to work for me. And I was like, sick, yeah, like let me know when that happens. And then I quit that frame, like the deck job, I think like 2 or 3 months into it. um I like went on vacation and came back, and someone like took my position already. I was like gone for like a week probably, and I just got like pretty much replaced, came back, and he's like, oh yeah, you can go like do all this other stuff. And I was like, what? No, like pay me more if you want me to do that. And then he's like, no, like just go meet these people here. And I was like, no, I'm gonna go home, like I'm not gonna work for you anymore. And then like I think that ended like October, so like almost like 6 months after, 3 months, 4 months after I moved here. Oh no, it would have been five. Um, but after that, I just started sewing a bunch and just like making stupid shit. Like I made these pants that were made out of like a hopscotch mat, and they're like kind of cool, honestly. They're like the first ones I made that were like fully from scratch, and I was like super stoked on them. But I was doing that, and then like come December, January, that other guy was like, "Hey, like come work on this house in like near Snow Basin or whatever." I don't know. It was like an hour and a half or two north of Salt Lake, and he would be like, "Yo, yeah, like come pick me up, and then we're gonna pick up two other guys, and we're gonna drive there, and I'm not gonna pay you for gas." And I was like, dude, what? Like, because he like didn't have any money because he just started this company, and it was like his first gig, and he like took like 2 months to pay me for like a 40-hour week, and it was a bummer. But that was why I like couldn't work for him, because I wasn't making any money. Um, and then I haven't worked a job that's not for myself since then, I believe. So the last like 3 years.
Wow. So,
Yeah.
I mean, I'm like through all this time, college, moving out to Salt Lake, doing all this construction crap. Were you sewing for fun, or did you have it in your mind at all that you wanted to start a company?
I was mostly doing it for fun. Like at CSU, I got like for that Christmas, I think I asked for like an embroidery machine from one of my aunts, and I was just like doing stupid shit, and just like I got really into like street art and weird like wheat pasting and that kind of stuff. And one of my buddies was like really talented at just like it was like doodles, but like they were fucking really cool. And I was like, let's like figure out how to put them on the embroidery machine and then like put them on stuff. And we would just like do that for fun. And then like someone was like, I want you to like put something on my Converse or something. And then she's like, I'll pay you for it. And I was like, oh, you're gonna pay me for it? That's cool, I guess. And then I was like making like meal food like money like just like $10 every couple days or something like a meal once in a while, and I like didn't really think much of it. And then I just ended up having like a lot of random shit that I made that I didn't give to anyone or like sell or anything when I moved out here, and then I like put it all up on my story and sold like all of it like within the same day, and I was like, what the fuck, like cool. Like, and then I was like, I guess like people like this stuff enough, so I just like was a little bit more motivating, and I started just like sewing all the time, like all night long. Um, but it like took a while for that to really kick in, because like that year I moved out here, I met like a bunch of great people, but I was just like dove straight into this hole of just like partying every day because like everyone was like in college, like that's their norm, and I was like, oh, like they're my age, so it's like normal, and I was like, I'm not even in college, why am I doing this? And then yeah, like it, I didn't ever really set out to do it, but it just kind of happened, and I'm stoked on it.
So when you sold that first batch of basically stuff you had made for over the course of like a year or 2 years, were you tapping into the ski market, or was that more of a streetwear?
It
Like
was definitely more of a streetwear thing. Um, I wonder if let me try to see if I can do archive on my computer. No, it's a bummer. It was like all on the gram for a while, but I like archived a lot of it. Cause I remember like most of them. Like one of them was I got had had gotten like two gibberish shirts from years ago, and I cut both of them in half and then like split them down the middle and sewed them back together. So I had like two different split ones. Yeah, here it is. It was like those gibberish shirts. Um, some like pretty baggy bugle boy pants with like acrylic paint and Sharpie and like random patches. Um, some like split horizontally like Dickies. Like the top was like tan and the bottom was brown and had this like gross square patch. I can send you these if you want.
yeah, that'd be funny.
Um,
So looking back on those, do you look at any of those and think, yeah, that was good, or are those total amateur works that you're looking at?
no, they're horrible. They're like someone told me the word for it because it's like definitely a style. Um, it's like it's like when there's that wave of like skaters that would like hand sew a ton of patches on their pants, and that's like pretty old, but it was like kind of reminiscent of that, but I didn't even know that was a thing. I was just like, I'm gonna embroider anime girls on the inside cuff of these pants, and it's gonna be sick. And yeah, they're definitely like not pretty to look at, but I know who has like the gibberish shirts were fine. They were done decently well. Um, I think one of my friends has one of those. I don't know who else has them. These other pants, my good friend has. Someone bought the grossest ones, and I hope they don't have them anymore. And in that batch was like like real leather mittens with like the liner was like 2 layers of like a thick cotton tablecloth, and there's like these Patagonia, like a Patagonia jacket that I cut up that was like really nice, and I don't know why I just ruined it. But I like tried to sew my first pair of mittens out of it without trying it like before at all, and I was like, I'm bummed about that to this day. I did that with had I found this like really old Tommy Hilfiger like super thick puffy jacket that was like reversible, like outside was blue, inside was yellow, and I was like, those would be so cool as mittens. And it's like it has like down feathers in it, and I just started cutting it up in the hallway at the dorm rooms, and it just went everywhere. And I'm still bummed about that one too, but whatever.
Yeah. So when did you decide to take it to the next level and, make a page for it and actually make a company?
I think it was like right after that because I sold all of that from that one post, and then think like pretty soon after, one of these girls had like hosted this art show kind of gallery, like party DJ scene with like free beer and all this stuff. And I was like knew her mutually, and she like asked me if I wanted to have a booth there. And that's when I like made a page when she like like when I got into that because I had like a month before to like make stuff for it, and I was like trying to explore like graphic design, which I knew nothing about. Like I could not operate like any softwares really. I would like draw something on the iPad and take the background out and then just like try to make it work as an embroidery, but it was always so bad. But um that was like right around when I made the page, and it was like X Genzai, Genzai Space, and like a bunch of other stuff that's like that. Because I was like, Japanese like culture has always been like super cool to me and interesting, and I was just like butchering names and trying to use them, and like, no, this isn't gonna last very long, so I'd like change it. I don't know how I landed on reevaluate though, but now
Yeah.
it's there and I like it.
Yeah, so that's what I was going to ask. So you don't remember why you chose it, but I mean, do you have a guess as to like, does it have any meaning to you at all, or like, do you have any background for the name that it currently is?
I think it was like R3 as in like I was super into like recycling and like sustainability with it at first, like using things that existed to make new things, like reduce, reuse, recycle type thing for the R3, like 3 Rs. And then like reevaluate would have been like like reevaluating like the current like industry standard or whatever like type of clothing, which is like I don't know how much I kind of like correlate with that now, but um like I've been trying to get this um trademark, so hopefully no one else goes and does that for just R3, and then I can like get Instagram to take whoever has that and give it to me, so I legally own it. Um, but yeah, I'm trying to like switch over to that just because it just kind of like feels better and not as like long-winded with like 4 or 5 syllables.
Yeah, definitely. So I'm glad you brought up the interest in Japanese stuff because I was looking at your old Instagram and the first collab you have on the R3 Instagram is something with a heavy Asian influence. So could you explain like your background with that? Like are you an anime kid? Like where did the Asian influence come from?
Um, that post you're talking about is a collaboration with this guy that I met like right when I started doing this, just like through there was like this super weird, I think there still kind of is. There's this like really there's like a whole community that was like around that kind of clothing and creating that. And I found him through that, and we've been like really good friends since then. And I've never met him. I've never talked to him on the phone. I've only ever like talked to him through Discord, but like very extensively. I like know who he is, but don't know who he is. I don't really want to know who he is at this point because I like have like a strange image of him in my head and like what he sounds like. But if I don't want to like get disappointed or something, you know. But I always felt like it wasn't my place to make like things that are influenced like by like anime and Japanese culture, and especially since there's like a huge community of people and companies that do that. And I'm like, it's like kind of played, but I want to do it, but it's kind of played. So he was like my way in to doing that because he like like is very educated, can like speak and write pretty fluently, and um like really like it's like his whole passion. So like I like feel more comfortable doing it when he's like, "Do you want to do this with me?" Um, but I wasn't like really ever like a huge anime kid. I like got really into it in like high school, I guess, like sophomore, junior year. Um, and watched a lot of it for sure. And I like had up until like 2 years ago, and I'll like watch it occasionally, but I just like get I'm just like too impatient for it right now. Like I'm sure I'll come back to it eventually, but yeah.
That's interesting because it definitely seems like there's some Asian influences throughout some of the pieces. So that's a cool
Hmm.
backstory. So how did you make it legit? I mean, you got the Instagram up and running. When did you start to take this more serious as a business where, you know, you're taking it serious like a business, like it's something that's going to support your livelihood?
Hmm. That was it was like right into and before like July or June 2020 is when I like established it as like an LLC, like did all the paperwork and pay the fees and the taxes and stuff. Um, that like when I did that, it was when I was like, I'm gonna try really hard, and I've just had like a lot of good connections with photographers and people who are like on kind of the same like energy of creating and stuff. So I've had like a lot of good opportunities for like camera resources, like backdrops and that kind of stuff. And when I um like established it as an LLC, I was operating all of it out of my buddy's house because they had this living room that no one used. It was like kind of just mess and like all their like storage pretty much just like in piles. And one of them moved out for the summer, like didn't like sublease or anything, but he was just like at home working for the summer. So um one of the other guys was like, dude, you should just like set up your stuff here because like I'm gonna be on the same stuff with like my film degree and like working on like a feature and like writing and stuff. So like it'd be sick if we both were working on stuff all the time. And I was like, yeah, I'm super down. And so I like had like a shop in their living room and didn't pay rent, didn't pay any utilities there. Like I was paying rent at my house because I was living with Cal. Um, but it was like at that point in time, it was like such a rat hole. Like right now, he's still in that same house, and it's like way nicer. Like it's like way more well kept, it's like way cleaner. Um, but I was like just fed up of being in that kind of like area and space. It like wasn't like driving me to like get out of it really. I mean, it was, but it wasn't like motivating to work in for sure. Um, and yeah, so I was like working there, and then I was like, well, I have all this space, I have the tools. I built like a screen press thing out of like $10 clips and like scrap 2x4s, and then I started like screen printing, and that's when I like actually saw the like viability of like, oh, I'll like I'll just make the graphic design and then do made to order, and then I can like not spend any money but get. I think I got like $600 like the first time, like just from like it was like a pre-order thing, but it only took like a week to like actually get them all out. I just had to make them first, and that's when I was like, I could actually just like do stuff like this, and then it like I could actually like pay rent and then like kind of like keep putting more money in. And then I was like, I don't know, I was like doing that and sewing a lot and a bunch of random stuff. And then I don't know who, I don't know if I wanted to do it or if someone else wanted me to do it, but I made snow pants for Brawlf. You know who I'm talking about. Those are the first ones I ever made, and they were so bad, like so awful. And he gave me $200 for them, and I was like, oh man, like he was like really nice about it because he came over after I like spent like 16 hours on them, and he tried them on, and he's like really nice. He's like, oh yeah, like sick, like paid me and then left, never wore them once, I don't think, but I like told him I was like I got you on whatever you want that I make forever. Like that was like huge because I made those, and then the second pair I ever made, I think I made them for Cal, and again they were just so bad, and they're like he wore them like maybe once or twice. I think he said he wore them in Minnesota just because he was like standing and they were like fully lined and like really warm, but like they didn't look very cool. Um, And then the third pair was when it just went from like completely awful to like kind of good. And I ended up I like wore those all that season, and I was like really hyped on them. And then I gave them to Zach Sturdivant, and he wore them for a while until he like kept sliding on concrete on them and tore them up. But those pants like was where I like kind of established in my mind like a standard of quality. And I like just with like rinsing and repeating doing that and like changing it every time, I like got to a point where I was like, these are like good enough. And I know like they're like definitely like really good material wise, like not so good. That material just sucks. It's called Otter Tex, and it's like it's cool for like a day, and then like all the waterproofing comes out because it's just like a polyurethane coating. And um yeah, I was like making so many of those that I kind of like knew all the ins and outs, so I started like trying to put that onto the computer like in like a technical package so I could send it to a factory. And that's where I came to the point where it's like I could actually like get good enough at doing the computer shit, I could actually like make it like make money and not just be like project to project and like at net zero the whole time. But I'm still at net zero even after this year for sure.
So when you were first doing that, before you started sending them out to factories, was the pants were handmade from start to finish? It wasn't like a base
Yeah.
with just a screen print.
Yeah, it was from start to finish. There's like no printing on them because I mean, did make a pair that has like direct transfer like vinyl pretty much on it, but those were just like I had ordered this fabric, and then like I'm trying to think like these like not very good waterproof zippers, they just like kind of split and come apart. But it was like those, the fabric, um, paracord, and like a metal riveted button. But yeah, it was like from scratch, and they had like zippered pockets, but no other pockets until I started doing like the custom order runs where like I would drop like 6 slots and so like they would like you'd like put a deposit down of like $50 to get the slot, and then I would do these custom ones. And those ones got like more interesting with like variations. I think I did mostly just those, honestly. Like just the like custom order ones because they took me like 12 hours each time.
Nice. So
But yeah,
now where does it stand? Is it factory produced?
yeah.
Cool.
Think the last thing I sewed and put up for sale was, oh, is it on here anymore? I made these like jean shorts and this like I put like patches on this Carhartt shirt, and that was like the last thing I did. That was June 2021.
So how does it work with getting it factory produced? Like what I don't even know what's the supply chain for that. You said you have to put together something on the computer and then send it over to Asia.
Yeah, pretty much. Like I mean, you can go really anywhere in the world. There's factories like everywhere. Like I probably could get it done in the States, but it would be like so much more expensive because like they're gonna get, for the most part, like their textile mills, unless you're sourcing it for them, are gonna come from like overseas. So they're gonna charge you for that and like all this other stuff. But yeah, so the for the snow pants at least, that it's like it's just called a technical packet. It's just like design specifications. Um, it's like you have your your cover page, what the project is, like technical sketches of what it looks like. Then you have like references, bill of materials, and you have to outline all of your measurements, and then like your pattern scaling and size guide, your call outs for like how different things are placed and where they are, what kind of seams they are. And then like construction pages, like how it really comes together. And I've seen like I learned how to do it by like um I was buying patterns on Etsy from some dude, and I asked him for something and he sent me like a glimpse of his technical packet, and I just like took that and like kind of copied the format for the first few goes, and then like as I saw necessary, like added more and more, and now I have like a huge template for it. But that technical packet for those snow pants was originally like I think 50 or probably like 30 pages, and it was disgusting to look at, like so disorganized and gross. And I sent it to this factory, and they were like, yeah, like we've never done anything like that. Like we usually just do streetwear. We don't really have vendors for like snow gear, snow like fabric, like like act like that kind of activity. And but they were like, yeah, we're like looking for a challenge. We're interested in trying that. And with that first packet I sent over, the like horrible one, they sent me back like I want to say like really long track pants, pretty much like all the wrong fabric, wrong like shape, wrong fit, like wrong pockets, and they probably like you put them over your feet. Like I'm 6'2", I put them on, and they if I'm like they're not at my ankles and they're below, they're like 3 feet longer. Like it's just absurd. And I was like, okay, well, that was a huge wake up call. So I just redid the entire thing, and like that one probably took me like um months to finish. And I was like, okay, well, I guess I'm more experienced now. Let's do it again. And it probably took me at least like a month straight to do that one, but that one ended up being 68 pages. And I can show it to you somehow. Oh, I can show it to you. I can screen share it to you so you at least know what I'm looking at.
Hmm.
But it's copyrighted. You can't have it. Um, all right, so like that's notes for the factory, like from updates. and then like this was like size breakdown, like contents, but like that was what I was talking about, like cover page, reference, those. I'm like referencing my own that I made. But yeah, like all these references, like very extensive, like call outs, like process with like how these like pockets come together, how
And
to
how did
do
you
like,
how did you learn how to put this all together?
well, really just by doing it, I was like, I'm gonna start from like top down on like the pants. I'll be like, okay, well, I'll start top down, I'll do these call outs, like what all this stuff is. And then from there, I was like, well, I'm gonna need like internal call outs, like internal stuff. I kind of just did it logically. I didn't really know what I was doing. I just was like, if I were to give this to someone, will they be able to do it? And so like that's pretty much my process with it. Like even like the most minuscule thing, like putting this on the zipper, like how to tie it through. Like this is so grotesque, but it worked. Um, like how to fuse the fabrics together. We had like this is like almost a military grade nylon. But I think we went with like a little bit thinner just because they were like a kilo at whatever we used, and then if they used like the one I wanted, it would have been 2 kilos, so like almost like 4 pounds or more than that. But yeah,
So you said you went to CSU for engineering. Do you feel like that background or that sort of wiring of your brain is helpful with this sort of thing?
um, I don't know. I feel like maybe, but I guess I've always been very detail oriented. I've always like done way more than I needed to do for like every project in like school and that. Um, but like I didn't learn any skills that transferred over besides like planning really and like structure,
Mhm.
which is like definitely huge. I don't know. I definitely think like you're at like with like just being that type of like organized mind, I guess, is helpful, but I don't know if that's kind of directly correlated to engineering in and of itself or not. But
Yeah, well, I'm glad you showed me that because that was super interesting. I wish other people could share it, but I understand other people could see it, but I understand why you would want to keep that kind of just for yourself. Um,
yeah, I'm like not try like I'm definitely not on like the gatekeeping vibes. Just like not like maybe like publicly, but like I've had like plenty of people hit me up and ask like kind of the same kinds of questions, and I'm like, here, like look at this. You can just like look at this and learn from it if you want. Um, but I probably will sue you if you use it. Um, but yeah, I'm like definitely like I would like to put something like this out there, but it'll probably not be for a long time.
mhm. So do you view your company as a pants company or is it an outerwear company?
I I don't I think that it is viewed as kind of like I like both of those, but I would like it to be more like designer brand in the future, like break out of like the skiing niche. But the skiing niche is like treating me very well, and like I'm down because like I want to wear the stuff, and like I like to see my friends and like talented people wearing it because it like looks cool on a lot of people. Um, but yeah, for the most part, I wouldn't say like company mission statement is like ski industry outerwear type of thing. Like I'm definitely trying to branch out as much as I can while I can, you know. Um, like I have some stuff that's being worked on that is like still kind of outerwear, but because I'm not trying to make like I just like want to make what I like, and it kind of just correlates that way, I guess. But yeah, I think right now it probably is just outerwear,
And
given the time constraints that I have.
yeah. So, in terms of the athletes that you sponsor, is it? I mean, do you only sponsor Cal, or do you sponsor other athletes too?
I'm trying to think of if there's anyone that isn't my friend, because like I give Cal like usually whatever, just because he like I've just known him for so long, and he's always like supported it, even if it's not that good. He's like still stoked. Um, like I gave him like all the different ones that came out this year. Um, but I gave a lot to like I think I told like all of like the child labor boys like you can all like have them if you want them and you're gonna wear them, but if you're not gonna wear them like you should just I'll just keep them, you know. And then who else? Like that was like a good few. Like there's like 10 to 15 of those guys that I gave them to. Um, but I don't know because I can't really sponsor anyone other than like when I can, I guess. Like I had the ability to give them all pants, oh like those guys pants this year because it like went well. But I don't know. Yeah, I guess I sponsor them because I will give them more because they like do a lot for me as well. Um, but I don't know. I was like I have like a weird thing because I want to pay Cal almost, and I was gonna give um child labor money this year for their movie, so I guess that would be like I would definitely be sponsoring them if I did that, but I just couldn't because of money. But um there was probably at least 30 to 50 people that I gave pants to this year,
For
which is
free?
yeah.
How is that financially? Are you getting killed on that? Like, that's definitely got to cut into your profit a lot.
Um I mean I did it before I like sold any pretty much. So it like I didn't really see it, but if I didn't do that, I probably would have done a little bit better. Like I broke even off the pre-order that I did in December, and then all this nightmare of delays happened, and like those didn't get out until March, like to people, which was like a huge bummer. But only like I think only like 5 people canceled their order, which is insane. But yeah, it didn't really hurt me that much financially. I like broke even on the pre-order, and then I was like, all right, well, when I do the like re-release, like ready to ship, like I'll probably do just as good, if not better, because people will be seeing them and want them more. But then like 3 months later, it's like almost end of the season, so like it didn't work as well, but it still did do really well. But yeah, I like did that pre-order, and then I was like, okay, time to level up. And then I bought this insane rig of a computer, and that hurt me for sure. Like if I didn't do that, I would have been like I would have profited like a lot, but I just hit net zero, so I'm not too upset about it.
Yeah. So before we get into viewer questions, so the last question I have is like financially, is this enough? Is this a viable career path for you? Like, are you able to support yourself strictly
Um,
off of this brand?
barely. Like I like it's like feast or famine for sure. Um, especially with like time constraints, motivation and stuff. Like if I nonstop worked this whole year and didn't take like from December until like March, it felt like I was on vacation because I like couldn't get anything done. Like I was trying to, but I was like in such a weird hole. And then like it yeah, it's really just feast or famine and when you can do it. Like cuz I was if I would have done that work, I would have like lined up several projects and I would have like things right now. And I have like those projects I had like set up in December didn't get put into like sampling or production until like last month. So like the sampling is like usually like 2 to 3 weeks, and then production is usually like 3 to 4 weeks. So like
Mhm.
those will probably like there's gonna be like a season 2 of those belts I did last summer, and I'm excited for those because they're like completely revamped and like way better. Um, but those will probably be in like a month or something. But I don't even know if they'll come out or not. I might just hold them until October or November with just to do like a full collection and not just one thing. Um, but it definitely is viable if life wasn't all over the place. I just had like so much going on in the last like 2 months. It's been unreal, and I was just like, man, like, I just want to like progress. Like, don't like this is like, why does all this stuff have to keep happening? It's like so unfortunate. But I think we're like I'm getting to the back end of that, and in that like I've been like I want to not have to spend the like R3 money on living, like rent and stuff. And I've been paying like $1,000 a month for rent, and it sucks. And I was like, why can't I just get a mortgage and pay that? It'd be way more sick. Um, so I just like put together this fat portfolio and like redid my resume, and I've just been applying for like what I do for a different company so I can like make a salary and not have to like share their losses or profits really. Um, but yeah, I think that's like the next step so I can like piggyback on another company and like learn more and be like forced to, and like not have to be completely um holding myself accountable.
I like that a lot.
So
Yeah, it sounds like you're ready to take this thing. Not even ready. It sounds like you are taking this thing super serious.
yeah, yeah. I mean, since I like started doing it, I've been able to live for like 3 years, but it's really like on a month to month, like rent to rent thing, like until this year. Like I was like doing really well, but then I didn't like do any work, so I didn't like set myself up to like bounce back up from it. Um, but I think it'll end up being all right. I've been like pretty lucky with like a family friend investor that like funded those pants. Just like it was like a friendly loan, like no interest. I just like give her the product when she likes it or not. She just like wants to see it keep going. I like pay her back as well, which is like kind of kind of sucks because when it's my money and I spend it and I make it back, I have it. But when it's someone else's money and I spend it, I have to give it back, and it sucks. But um, yeah, no, it definitely. I've been really lucky for sure.
Yeah, that's awesome. And yeah, that does suck about loans having to repay them.
Yep, yeah, yeah. No, that's what I was telling you about. I was like saying I might have to like bail because I've been waiting on this interview because I had like one last. I had one on Tuesday over the phone, and then they. I just got another one scheduled for Monday at their office, so hopefully that'll go pretty well.
Don't want to jinx it, but if they bring you into the office, that means they like you a lot.
It's crazy. It's a huge designer wholesaler, so
Yeah. Well, good luck with that.
yeah, thanks.
So, first of the viewer questions, fan favorite. What's your hot take in skiing or fashion or both? Whatever. What's your hot take?
Um, fleece beanies are not it for sure. I know I did those, but they're not it. I'm sorry if you really like those, but they're not it for sure.
Why is that the case? You just think they look bad or they're bad material?
Um,
What's wrong with fleece beanies?
I think they're like if you're making them, a good step, rinse and repeat. It's cool. All mostly all beanies are bad if they're wool or if they're not wool because it's all like acrylic or like polyester fleece. Uh, I'm using it as an excuse to not like them, but like polyester fleece, you just like put like if you wash it, you just put like all these nanofibers into the water and it like drains through your washing machine and it's really bad. And that's what we eat and stuff. Um, which is not news. I don't really care about that, but I just don't like them. I think they're a good step for learning for sure, but you gotta like go past it at some point.
All right. Julian asks, what is your favorite piece you've ever made?
Um, the one I was the most proud of was like 14 ounce. Pulling it up right now. Yeah, 14.5 ounce bull denim. And they're like almost the same shape and fit as the snow pants, but they were like 3 pounds, like just like heavy duty, and like no seams, like no raw edges, no like I don't know if you know what, like a serger is or like a cover stitch. It's like the seam on the inside of your t-shirt where you can see all the like um strings and like thread and whatever. But it had nothing like that. Those are my favorite for sure. It took me the longest. I tried the hardest on them. They ended up looking pretty cool. And Zach Pfeiffer, the Sovereign guy, actually bought them, and I was super hyped on that.
That's sick. Cool. So Amir asks, what's your inspiration? What or who or where do you get your
Um,
inspiration from?
I guess it just circles back to like that Japanese culture thing. Like I'm like pretty into this like the like whole world of what like Gundams are, like mech and that kind of stuff. I don't know if you know what that is. Um, but it's pretty much like what Transformers came from, like in the American world. Um, but like structurally and that kind of thing have it's always been like some of the pants that I made myself, like I took a lot of like reference from like kind of like angles and structures, like a little bit, like even like the one of the designs this year, um, that like gray and black with like the diagonal kind of stripe and that tag with like the 888 and the R3 is like very like it's like because like those got that Gundam area of that culture and like in anime and stuff is very like futuristic, like retro futurism, like crazy computer screens and like all that kind of stuff. So been I've always like looked at that and liked it so much and wanted to like put it into my own thing. But I think that's like a pretty good inspiration that I have.
Yeah, definitely. Uh, let's see, next one. Dylan, how long did the design process take to hone in on the best dimensions of the pants?
Um, I think that's still ongoing, but to where it got to this year, like it took probably like 13 months from start to finish, which the start was like that first pair I made in house. And then like over those next like 6 months, I made I think like around 30 or something pairs. And to get to that end point when I stopped making them myself, I think there was like seven or there's like 8 or 9 different versions of that pattern that I had to keep like working from. Um, and then the remaining like 5 months was me trying to figure out how to like put it onto the computer. And then like that changed the fit this year a lot because of like different margins and guidelines that the factory was like we should change this because it like would just work better and it's gonna like fit better than what you were doing. And I was like, okay, I'm gonna take your word from it. So there's like some of like this factory I work with now, like the guy that runs it is very intelligent, and I like just talked to him yesterday at 6 a.m. for like 3 hours. But he's like he owns the company. It's like a small, like small to medium size. I think they only have like 50 people working there, um, and maybe only like 20 machines. But which explains like a lot with like all this delays and stuff. Like they have all these growing pains, but they definitely had like an input on like the fit this year for sure. But didn't change it that much, just like made it better in my opinion, more refined.
Hmm. And I mean, so kind of related. Wumbo Skis asked, moving from the original mock-ups to the final product, what were some issues you ran into?
Um, First, hey Pat, how's it going? And I guess like there was a like what I was just saying there, like with them kind of refining the fit and stuff. Um, at least with the factory this year, I'll just like go into that because like I've already gone into the in-house thing. But they're like just with margins and stuff because I got um the original final samples in, and they were meant to be the biggest size. And I was like, ah, like these should be the smaller, like the medium size. Like, I like they were originally medium and large, but then I was like, people are gonna be weird about buying medium pants because they're not medium. So I changed it to like regular and tall. But I switched it so that the previous like tall became the regular, and then they were gonna make a size that was bigger, but they already had gone through so many processes with the pattern making and like finalizing that they were like, we can only add this amount more to the end to like to do whatever. So I was like originally like they need to be like 4 or 5 inches longer than these. Like, well, we can only do like 3.5. So that was kind of a bummer, but it ended up being like the perfect size at least. Unless you're like 6'6", they're like not as big on you. But yeah, that was like a huge bummer. And then there's like a lot of issues with like fabric and quality control because I wanted this nylon, and then the textile mills, like that's when I was trying to put my like fabric order in with them, like well the factory like did it for me, but when we were trying to do that, they're already getting this influx of like huge brands like requesting all their fabric and that kind of thing. So they like put me on the back burner, and they're like, we can get it done, but it might not be until whenever. So like that leeway time is supposed to be like at most 40 days, and it ended up being like 60. And they like my factory ended up just like taking the mill's like stock inventory and not having them like custom procure fabric. Um, that blue variation this year was like not supposed to be that color at all, but that was like what that mill had, so like we had to use it. Um, but yeah, it was like a lot of like weird planning things like that could have been avoided, but now they will be avoided because it's like learned, like it's been learned.
Yeah, cool. All right, Loch Ness Monster. Any pro signature pants coming?
Um, I'd like to do that kind of, but I don't really know. Definitely not this next year. Because I'm gonna do more this next year. I'm still figuring out that. It's like been all this other stuff with communicating with this factory. I think I just need to maybe find a new one, but then I have to start from scratch with them, and it's gonna suck. But and I need to do that like right now. Um, but I'd like to do like pro signature pant, but I don't like know how to do that without it being like the same thing. Like with like Cal has his pro ski, and it's just like a sick graphic, and then like it's signed by Cal. Um, like it would have to be like completely like redesigned and like different shape, different tech kind of thing. But that would be interesting. I'd definitely be super down to do that.
Um, I mean, kind of a side note, you ever do any collabs or like beyond that first one, obviously that we were talking about? Like, do you do
Yeah.
any collabs in the ski industry?
Um, I did that one that we were talking about. I did another one with the same guy. Um, I did. I guess like I did like at least three or four initially with that same guy, Ginkgo.ltd. Um, and then this season we did beanies, so I guess that is in ski industry at this point, but those were cool. I have like a few things like kind of prospectively lined up for collabs, but not on like the same scale. So I'm not quite sure with that one, but I'm pretty down to. Really depends. Like I actually no, I did like hoodies with Vishnu with Emmett a while back, I think last year. But those were like in-house and there's only like 8 to 10 of them. It's like split screen printed then split in half ones.
Yeah.
Those were such a pain.
Cool. So hit up Riley if you want to do a collab. All right, we'll close this thing out with the last few. So Rolf, what's the best advice you can give to someone looking to start their own ski apparel company?
Um Start with like basics and I mean like I was just like ripping on fleece beanies, but like those are like good to kind of learn because you need to have this understanding with like different fabrics and thread and needles. And like that one, you like need specific needles. I was using like microtex, which is not correct, but um, that's like decent, I guess, in the ski industry. But I would like personally say to make like more on the tip of like streetwear because like there's a lot more basics to be learned. Um, like pants suck to make until you have made like 8 of them, and then you finally kind of understand, and you don't have to like um, go back and forth with like tutorials every time to figure it out. And like, yeah, definitely use YouTube. Like that's pretty much my entire education right now, besides like a lot of forums that I've just recently gotten into with like Adobe Creative Suites and stuff, and like recoding those. But yeah.
Cool. And the last one, we got two separate people asking for the same thing. When is the next drop? And I'm also going to add on what's the plans for the future?
I'm in this like weird like rebuilding phase pretty much. I'm trying to like line up more than one thing at a time, so it's not just like a single item, single garment drop. And I'm sorry if I haven't answered anyone that has asked the when is the next drop question, because I think there's been like a few that I have seen and I didn't get to, but um for sure, respectively, like the there'll be new snow pants, and hopefully I'm trying to get this jacket done by then, but hopefully those that drop will be late October or like first week of November. And that's like the only thing I actually have in the books for right now. And that'll probably be the next one, honestly, unless I like do something that's more in-house because I just don't have time to do anything else. Um, but if I do that, then I'll be able to have like at least 3 or 4 like different drops throughout from like November to April.
Cool. that's all I got. Riley, thank you for joining us today. Where can everybody find your stuff?
You can find it on Reevaluate Instagram. That's R3evaluate. And the website is currently going to be closed for the indefinite future.
All
Or
right.
email me at Riley at reevaluate.com. You can send me your technical designer job offers if you want.
Well, there you have it. Thanks for coming on.
Thanks for having me.